Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second edition of CCW's Harmony Hour. I'm Robbie Jacobs, CCW's Executive Director, and I'm delighted to be joined today by the inimitable Don Cotton, the Associate Artistic Director and the Director of our Young Men's Ensemble. Harmony Hour is our new series designed to shed a bit of light on the people that really make CCW tick, and I'm overjoyed to be joined by Don today, particularly as we are celebrating 30 years of Don's involvement with the organisation. He's been around since it was founded, and in a sad and bittersweet way, a congratulations on your impending retirement from CCW. Congratulations.
Appreciate that.
And thank you for your amazing service to the organisation over these last 30 years. So we're going to explore a little bit today about Don's experience of CCW, people that have known him for a long time, may even find out some new information, and if you're relatively new to the organisation, you're going to hear some stories from one of CCW's most amazing staff members over the time that we've existed. So Don, you've been involved in CCW for longer than any of our choristers have been alive. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what's kept you engaged in this organisation for such a long time.
I would say first and foremost the young singers that we get to work with, and just watching them and seeing them grow and learn from the different instructors and the different directors, and seeing them achieve what they may not even realize they're capable of achieving. That's the primary reason that I'm here, and striving for that excellence and pushing them to be what they're capable of being.
And over that period, are there things that have changed a lot about what you've seen in the chorus?
Yeah, I think primarily that we have the different levels through the CCW, that you have students coming in at younger levels where we can teach them to become those better singers and matriculate into the more advanced groups and hopefully make it all the way to the top tier, concert chorus, YME, and get to a tour around the world, really. Yeah.
And I guess on the other side of the coin, there presumably is some things that have stayed pretty constant about the CCW experience.
Yeah, one of the things that I've always felt is important to CCW is maintaining our standard of excellence, and the different ways that we can do that, obviously by our instructional staff, of course, and getting the students in here and helping them to achieve that excellence.
And I'm relatively new to CCW, but at this point I've heard the chorus perform many times, and every single one of those experiences really has been truly excellent, and I think that that's a testament to your work, Margaret's work, the work of the artistic staff, and really our students know what the expectations are, and I think that's something that's really special.
Thank you. It's great to see when you get an opportunity to see the other groups perform too, because you can really see the advancement through the levels, and starting from the very young singers to the more experienced singers, and you can see how that growth occurs.
So I want to rewind all the way back to the start. How did you first become involved in CCW, and what was it that first hooked you in?
Well, being a founding member, it was in my first years of teaching. I was looking for a class to take to be recertified in my teaching profession, and I came across this flyer at Westminster Choir College. They were offering a class, and I believe it was developing the children's voice through classroom singing. And of course, the instructor just happened to be our founder, Joan Gregoric.
Of course, yeah.
And so I believe divine intervention brought us together that day. And through that course during the week, she mentioned she was teaching at Chevy Chase Elementary School, and she mentioned the possibility of starting a children's chorus in the area. And with my background in, of course, singing and then keyboards, I thought, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to combine two things that I really enjoy. And that's really one of my goals in my music career was, okay, how can I bring those two together? And here's this opportunity looking me straight in the face. So I thought, I said to Joan toward the end of the week, I said, if you're ever going to start a children's chorus, please give me an opportunity. I'd love to audition to be your accompanist. And within months after that course, she did get in touch with me, and here we are 30 years later.
And sometimes it is just those little moments that shape huge parts of your life. In those early days, Joan was really just getting started with this, and I imagine that the energy must have been kind of a startup environment.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you start something new, you never know you start it hoping for the best. And of course, I remember the staff, Maxine Pagliano, Diane Strauss, and myself, starting in this little basement, almost like a classroom, if you will, in a building that doesn't even exist anymore, in Tenley Circle. And we had a large number of kids, and I think a lot of that was because Joan had a reputation in the area through her work at Chevy Chase and doing things with her children at the Kennedy Center. We had a pretty large chorus, and of course, over time, then you see, okay, what's next for CCW? Then we started the treble chorus and bel canto, and now here we are later with 12 ensembles.
Yeah, amazing. Before you got to CCW, you already had a rich musical background, and I was wondering if you could share with us a little bit about your training and influences that got you to here, and maybe any particular teachers or instructors that had a really big impact on you.
I'd always been a singer. I can remember singing, I mean, in my younger years, especially in kindergarten class. But I think my mother was the first influence. She was a church organist, and I remember sitting on the bench watching her play. And of course, like I said, I sang, but I was just amazed at how somebody can make that sound come out of an instrument, not just with your hands, but with your feet.
Yeah.
And I used to have dreams as a child of being able to sit down and just play something on a keyboard or particularly organ and make that sound come out. But it wasn't until years later, when I was a freshman in high school, that I actually started taking those keyboard lessons to develop those skills. But my instructors in high school, Nancy Krestick was my piano teacher that I started with, and a few years ago we actually went back. I took my young men's ensemble to do a tribute concert to her. Fantastic. Which was very special, and I think that's one of the things that stand out for me in my 30-year history with CCW. Then Carl Hawes, my high school, and then really Joan Gregor, working so closely with her and learning from her, working with the children's voice, of course. And college, Bob Schaefer, he's well-known in the DC community. And fortunately, we're going to be doing one of his pieces at my final concert this year. Yeah.
And are there any pieces of wisdom that you got from those mentors that have really informed the way that you work directly with the singers, or philosophies towards conducting and choral music that are important to you?
I don't know if anything specifically, but I was always around something excellent, and I knew what excellence was through those mentors, really. And so how to achieve that excellence, that's something you develop yourself, but also my family tells me to this day that when they see me conduct, they're like, that reminds me of Carl Hawes. You conduct just like Carl Hawes, who happened to be my high school teacher.
Yeah,
so it's kind of funny. You don't know what you pick up sometimes, and then years later you find out that looks just like your teacher from high school.
Fantastic,
but just being around those wonderful examples and going for that excellence always.
So over the 30 years, you've worked with hundreds, probably thousands of young people, and I'm sure that in the future there'll be a conductor in the peak of their career saying, my family says I conduct just like Don Cotton. But I wonder if there's a moment to you that really stands out, that when you reflect back on that time and that makes you think, this moment, this is why I do this.
There are several moments, within concerts and stuff that you just everything clicks, and I think that's why one of the reasons why a lot of musicians do what they do, those special moments that occur in performances. As I alluded to earlier, when I took my young men's ensemble to perform for that teacher of mine, that was really special, that I could share my appreciation for what she taught me, in the hopes that maybe someday what I'm teaching my students or my young singers will impact their lives down the road. Yeah. I know some students even now that are in the music field, former students. So and they keep in touch, and that's something that I really hope that I can give to my young singers.
And on the flip side of that, I mean, I think anybody that has been involved in music making or working with young people knows it doesn't always go perfectly every time. No. And I wonder if you have a memory that springs to mind of a time that makes you smile when you think back to it.
As I said, we're always going for that excellence. Do we, is it ever enough? But, I always appreciate how hard the kids work. And I'm always just gratified that the kids want to do well for us and well for me. But one instance I'll never forget, and this was not on the students actually. Dr. Doreen Rao, who's well known in the children's chorus community, was at one of our concerts, and it was at National City Christian Church. And at the time, I was doing organ piece. I can't remember what it was. It might have been Gaudete or something like that. And of course, she was sitting up in the chancery in the back, and there's an organ keyboard back up there. So we're in the middle of the concert, and apparently what happened is she sat down at the keyboard up there and put something on the keyboard, and I had the antiphonal on, and all of a sudden you hear this of sound, and people were like, they couldn't see me because the kids were in front of me.
Yeah.
They thought maybe I had passed out or something on the keyboard, and I'm standing back there like, not me, not me. I have no idea what happened, but that was just, I'll never forget that moment.
So as you prepare to step away from your regular weekly work with the chorus, and I'm sure that you'll be back for all sorts of things, but I'm interested in what you think you're going to miss most about the chorus, about the community, about the singers.
Just that relationship that you create with the young singers, and particularly now my young men's ensemble. I feel very close to my young men, and offering them that opportunity to be in an environment where they can share something very special and very unique, and again, performing together. I think they're very close, and I will miss being a part of that.
Yeah.
And not just them, but also the level at which we do work. You know, you don't get that everywhere, and just being in touch and seeing where the way those kids develop their talent, I would definitely miss that.
And I think something that maybe people don't know is that when CCW was first founded, the pathway for students went through to when boys' voices changed, and then there was no way for young men to continue their singing with CCW. People who'd really found a home here and had their community and their people at CCW, but there wasn't a pathway, and you were instrumental in the setting up of the young men's ensemble, which now makes it so that changed voices can continue their singing all the way through to the end of high school.
And I'm really proud that we were able to do that through CCW. I remember, just like the beginning, in the very beginning, okay, do we do this? There's always that trepidation, the unknowns.
Yeah.
But I thought, we have to do this, because if we don't do this, somebody else is going to. And I am so glad that we did, and I'm so grateful that CCW offered us that opportunity that I could be a part of it.
So, what's next then? And as you go into the next phase of your musical and professional life, maybe a little bit more time, how do you think you'll spend it?
Very good question. I still will continue my teaching job and my church job. Evenings and some of my time on weekends, I'm not sure how I'm going to fill that up, but I am certainly open to, you never know what's going to come along, but I am open. Of course, music is a part of me and a part of my life, so if something comes along, I will certainly consider that, but CCW will always be right here, definitely. Yep.
So I want to close by asking, if a new student were to walk into CCW for their first time, and you could give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
You're in a place where you are cared about, where you're loved, and that we want nothing more for you than to help you to achieve what you're capable of achieving.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us, Don. Congratulations again on an amazing tenure with CCW.
My pleasure.
And I'm looking forward to the various exciting ways over the next few months that we can celebrate your incredible legacy.
Thank you.
And once again, I want to say thank you for spending this time with me.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody for watching. And Harmony Hour will be back again one more time this season, so tune in. See you later.